August 7, 1944. Just after dawn. Outside the shattered town of Avranches, France. The air already smells wrong. Not cordite, not smoke. Gasoline. Hot, metallic, sour, drifting over the hedgerows as American engines idle too long in the morning heat. M4 Shermans rumble nose to tail along a narrow Norman road, their crews waiting, helmets off, sweat streaking dust down their faces. Somewhere ahead, artillery thumps like a closing door. Somewhere behind, trucks grind their gears, trying and failing to move forward. The Third Army has broken loose. And now it's about to run dry. You can almost hear it, the sound no commander wants to hear in the middle of victory. Silence. Because tanks without fuel are not weapons. They're monuments. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Codman stands near a field map spread across the hood of a Jeep, watching dispatch riders arrive one after another. Each brings the same message, worded differently but meaning the same thing. Fuel convoys are late. Fuel depots are empty. Fuel simply isn't there. To the west, Patton spearheads are tearing through Brittany. To the east, German units are collapsing faster than intelligence can track them. Entire divisions are retreating in panic. Roads are clogged with abandoned equipment. This is the moment armies dream of. And the moment logistics nightmares are born. General George S. Patton, Jr., does not slow down. He never does. Keep moving, he snaps to his staff. We'll get the gas. But no one can quite explain where it's supposed to come from. The Red Ball Express, the great Allied supply system, is already stretched to the breaking point. Trucks run day and night from the beaches of Normandy, engines screaming, drivers sleeping at the wheel. Even that isn't enough. Patton's army is moving too fast for its own lifeline. By August 10th, frontline units are reporting less than 1 day of fuel remaining. 1 day. Then the tanks stop. The artillery stops. The war stops. At a muddy motor pool outside Le Mans, far from the generals and maps, Staff Sergeant James Red Ballard wipes grease from his hands and listens to the same rumors everyone else is whispering. We're outrunning our fuel. The brass doesn't know what to do. The Germans left everything behind, except gas we can use. Ballard is not famous. He's not in the history books. He's a mechanic. Before the war, he fixed delivery trucks in Ohio, knows engines by sound, knows fuel by smell, knows when something will run and when it will blow. That afternoon, a convoy of captured German vehicles is dragged into the yard. Kubelwagens, half-tracks, even a Panther tank sitting useless, its crew long gone. And alongside them, fuel cans. Hundreds of them. Gray metal, German markings, some dented, some leaking. To most officers, they might as well be filled with poison. German fuel was rumored to be incompatible with American engines. Different octane, different additives, wrong chemistry. Put it in a Sherman and you risk destroying the engine or worse, igniting it. Orders were clear. Do not use captured fuel. But orders don't mean much when your tanks are about to become paperweights. Ballard cracks open one of the cans. The smell hits him instantly, sharper than American gasoline, heavier. He dips a finger in, rubs it between his thumb and forefinger. Feels thinner. Not bad. He looks at the others, mechanics, drivers, men who know machines better than manuals. If this stuff burns, Ballard mutters, it'll move steel. No one answers him. They don't have to. That night, under blackout conditions, Ballard rigs an improvised filtration system using spare cloth, canvas, and parts scavenged from wrecked engines. He strains the fuel slowly, carefully, removing grit, water, and whatever debris the retreating Germans left behind. It's not official. It's not authorized. It's necessary. They pour the filtered fuel into a single GMC truck, not a tank, not yet. The engine coughs. Once, twice, then it roars alive. Every man in the motor pool freezes. They wait for smoke, for knocking, for flames. Nothing. The truck revs clean. Ballard smiles for the first time in weeks. By morning, word spreads quietly through the unit, not through radios, through whispers. The German gas works. At first, it's used sparingly, just enough to move recovery vehicles, then transport trucks, then artillery prime movers. Each success builds confidence. By August 12th, Ballard takes a risk no one technically approves. He fuels a Sherman. The crew backs away as the driver turns the ignition. For one long second, nothing happens. Then the engine catches, deep, powerful, alive. The tank lurches forward. Men cheer. Not loudly, not officially, but with the kind of relief that feels like oxygen returning to your lungs. Within days, improvised fuel teams begin appearing across Third Army's rear areas, mechanics copying mechanics, units filtering, blending, experimenting. Captured German dumps, once ignored, are suddenly treasure troves. Patton's army doesn't slow. It accelerates. German commanders, already reeling, cannot understand it. Their intelligence reports say the Americans should be stalled, out of fuel, logistically exhausted. Instead, American armor keeps appearing where it shouldn't be. Crossroads fall overnight. Bridges are seized intact. Entire German columns are cut off by tanks that, on paper, shouldn't even be moving. Somewhere far behind the front, Staff Sergeant Ballard watches trucks roll out one after another, engines fueled by what the enemy left behind. He doesn't know it yet, but his quiet defiance, a mechanic's decision made in a muddy field, is about to shape the speed of the entire campaign across France. And soon, higher command is going to notice. The morning of August 14, 1944, arrives wrapped in dust. It hangs over the roads like fog, kicked up by thousands of tires grinding eastward. Convoys snake through villages whose names most Americans can't pronounce: Chartres, Alençon, Argenton, each passed almost as soon as it's entered. The Third Army is no longer advancing. It's flowing. From a hill overlooking a captured crossroads, Major General Manton Eddy studies the movement below him. Tanks, half-tracks, ammunition trucks, recovery vehicles hauling wrecked German armor backward while American armor pushes forward. It doesn't make sense. 2 days earlier, Eddy had been told fuel was critically low. Red Ball Express deliveries were behind schedule. Depots were empty or misplaced. The math did not work. Yet here they are, moving faster than ever. Where the hell are they getting the gas? He mutters. No one answers, because no one really knows. At the divisional level, officers begin noticing something strange in after-action reports. Vehicles are logging mileage that shouldn't be possible. Units thought immobilized are suddenly reporting contact with the enemy again, hours earlier than expected. When questioned, junior officers shrug. Captured fuel, sir. That answer spreads upward. Captured fuel. At first, staff officers assume it means a few trucks here and there. Minor scavenging, battlefield improvisation, nothing new. Then Patton's headquarters receives a report that makes several colonels pause. A full armored task force has advanced nearly 70 miles in 48 hours, without a single scheduled fuel delivery. Patton reads the report in silence. Then he smiles. Find out how, he says. An intelligence captain is dispatched rearward, following the trail of moving units back through the chaos of the Third Army's support zones. He passes overflowing POW pens, burned-out German vehicles, abandoned field kitchens still warm. Eventually, he reaches a motor pool near Le Mans. What he finds looks less like a supply installation and more like controlled chaos. German jerry cans stacked shoulder high, fuel being poured through canvas strainers, mechanics working stripped to the waist, hands black with grime, faces hollow with exhaustion. And at the center of it all, Ballard. The captain watches silently as a mechanic siphons fuel from a German tanker truck into American drums, filters it twice, then seals it with chalk markings. "Is this authorized?" the officer finally asks. Ballard doesn't look up. "No, sir." "Is it safe?" Ballard hesitates just a fraction of a second. "Safer than stopping." That answer travels upward faster than any written report. By that evening, Patton is briefed. The room is hot, cigarette smoke hangs low, maps cover every wall. A logistics officer clears his throat and explains the situation carefully. The filtration, the blending, the risk to engines. Patton listens, taps his riding crop against his boot. "So let me get this straight," he says. "My army is advancing because some mechanic decided not to wait for permission." "Yes, sir." Patton nods once. "Promote him." The room goes still. "Sir." "Any man who keeps my tanks moving is more valuable than a desk full of regulations." He leans forward. "And don't you dare shut it down." Within hours, the tone changes. What was once forbidden becomes unofficially encouraged. Orders never explicitly authorize captured fuel, too risky on paper, but inspections suddenly become less curious. Reports grow vague. Phrases like field expedient measures begin appearing in memos. Mechanics understand perfectly. Keep it quiet. Keep it working. Across France, fuel scavenging becomes an art. German depots are found intact, abandoned in the chaos of retreat. Entire train cars of gasoline sit untouched because German units fled before sabotaging them. In some cases, fuel intended for the Wehrmacht now powers the very tanks hunting them. The irony is not lost on anyone. For the men at the front, the difference is immediate. Tanks no longer wait for fuel. They refuel at night and roll again at dawn. Armored columns bypass resistance instead of grinding through it. German rearguards find themselves suddenly outflanked by forces that shouldn't physically be there yet. A German staff officer later writes in his diary, "The Americans move as if they have no rear." He isn't wrong. But this speed has a cost. Engines begin to suffer. Spark plugs foul faster. Some vehicles cough black smoke. A few break down catastrophically, victims of fuel that burns just a little too hot. Mechanics work around the clock, swapping parts, improvising fixes. Ballard barely sleeps. He knows they're gambling, trading long-term reliability for short-term momentum. But he also knows something else. Momentum wins wars. Then comes the report that changes everything. On August 18th, reconnaissance units confirm what commanders scarcely dare believe. Large elements of the German 7th Army are trapped. The Falaise pocket is forming. And American armor is closing faster than anyone predicted. Patton studies the map late that night, eyes narrowed. His finger traces the routes his divisions have taken, roads they should not have reached, distances they should not have covered. All of it made possible by fuel that technically does not exist. "Push them," he orders. "Don't let them breathe." Behind the scenes, Ballard and hundreds like him keep the invisible machine alive, filtering, pouring, praying. Because if the engines fail now, thousands of Germans escape. And history changes. As darkness settles over France, tanks rumble eastward once more, burning enemy fuel to destroy the enemy who left it behind. But the gamble is nearing its breaking point. And soon the consequences will arrive, mechanical, logistical, and human. August 19, 1944. Near Argenton. The road is littered with wreckage. German trucks burned where they stalled, horse carts overturned in ditches, steel helmets scattered like dropped coins. The smell is overwhelming, oil, smoke, decay, and gasoline mixing into something thick enough to taste. American tanks roll past it all without slowing. But inside those tanks, something isn't right. Corporal Eddie Marino grips the controls of his Sherman as the engine shudders beneath him. It's subtle at first, a vibration that doesn't belong, then a cough, a stutter. "Easy, easy," he mutters, coaxing the throttle. The engine recovers. For now, across Third Army, the same story is playing out. Engines knocking earlier than expected, filters clogging faster, mechanics chasing problems that weren't in the manuals. The fuel is keeping them moving, but it's asking for payment. In rear areas, recovery teams are overwhelmed. Disabled vehicles line the roads like bones. Every breakdown becomes a race: fix it fast or abandon it and move on. Patton has already made his choice. Speed over perfection. Movement over maintenance. Because every hour matters. The Falaise pocket is tightening but not fast enough. German units, shattered but dangerous, are trying to escape east. Every road becomes a choke point. Every village a desperate fight. At one crossroads, American infantry watches a column of Shermans roar past them. Where they get the gas, one private asks. His sergeant doesn't answer. He just watches the tanks disappear and hopes they don't stop. Back at the motor pool, Ballard feels the strain in his bones. His hands shake when he pours fuel now, not from fear, but exhaustion. He's been awake nearly 40 hours. A lieutenant approaches him, helmet under his arm. "Sir wants to know how much longer we can keep this up." Ballard thinks. Then he tells the truth. As long as the Germans keep running. Because captured fuel depends on captured territory, and the moment the advance slows, the supply vanishes with it. It's a race between collapse and capture. That race peaks on August 20th. American armor reaches the outskirts of Chambois. Polish forces press in from the north. German columns jam the roads in panic. Artillery hammers escape routes relentlessly. Inside the pocket, chaos reigns. And American tanks, running on German gasoline, slam the door shut. For 2 days, the fighting is savage. Point-blank tank duels, infantry clearing hedgerows by hand, smoke so thick it turns noon into dusk. When it ends, tens of thousands of German soldiers are dead or captured. The Western German army in France is effectively destroyed. And Patton's Third Army stands poised to drive straight to the Seine. Only now does the cost fully emerge. By late August, maintenance reports are brutal. Engines worn beyond expectations. Transmission failures skyrocketing. Vehicles that survived combat now die quietly by the roadside. The bill for speed has come due. At headquarters, logistics officers finally catch up. Fuel pipelines extend forward. Red Ball Express convoys increase. Proper gasoline begins arriving again. The improvisation era fades as quietly as it began. No ceremony. No announcement. Just fewer German jerrycans stacked in motor pools. Ballard is ordered to stand down. For the first time in weeks, he sleeps more than 3 hours. He never meets Patton, never receives a medal. His name doesn't appear in communiques. But weeks later, while repairing a truck near the Seine, he overhears a colonel speaking to a visiting correspondent. "We moved faster than any army had a right to," the officer says, "and we only did it because men in the rear refused to let us stop." Ballard keeps tightening a bolt. That's enough. Because history will remember the generals, the battles, the maps with arrows sweeping across France. It will not remember the smell of filtered gasoline in the dark, or the mechanics who turned enemy fuel into momentum. But without them, the Third Army would have stalled. The Germans would have escaped. The war in the West would have dragged on bloodier, longer, costlier. Sometimes victory doesn't come from brilliance. Sometimes it comes from a man standing in the mud, holding a fuel can, deciding not to wait.